What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday, Sony published their financial results for this past fiscal quarter. It does cover the holiday season, and while it looks like PlayStation had a record year for 2021, it also looks like they're dealing with a pretty serious issue around the PlayStation 5 console, and we're going to be talking about that here today. Also, we are going to be going over Nintendo Direct season because it feels like we're getting close to one, right? At least that's what a lot of people are thinking now after seeing a big change for one of Nintendo's websites, and of course, leaks that are going around. And we're also going to be talking about Yacht Club Games as they had their own presentation that seems to be stirring up a little bit of controversy. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with Dying Light 2. It's out tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it. We did have reviews go live yesterday, and we can see the Metacritic score here for the PlayStation 5 version coming in at a 77. I did notice that while the PC and Xbox pages have less review scores, those are coming in at 79 each. So mid to high 70s is what we're seeing here for Dying Light 2. A little lower than I was thinking. I thought this would have been like maybe a mid 80s just based on some of the things we were seeing with the different previews. And it is pretty split. I mean, we have 33 positive, 12 mixed, 1 negative. And it's interesting because some of the reviews read that like for example, at the top, Hobby Consolas say it's a masterpiece. PlayStation Universe says it was thankfully worth the wait. And then others towards the bottom, like Guardian, says if you've played a zombie game in the past decade, this mishmash of tattered post-apocalyptic stereotypes will feel all too familiar. Others kind of ding the game for several bugs that have been found in, I mean, it's an open world style game, and that seems to be more and more common. Techland is mentioning a day one patch, and I don't think it's great that you have to rely on a day one patch when you send the game out in that state to be reviewed in the first place. But I'll be picking it up tomorrow and seeing for myself how this one turned out. Also, we had talked about different sales for the Switch and the Xbox yesterday, and it looks like there is a sale that is now live for the PlayStation, which we can see here. We'll just kind of scroll through some of the pages. The Critics' Choice sale will be live until February 16th, and I wanted to point this one out because it has several first-party games from Sony, which includes Spider-Man Miles Morales down to $30, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart down to $49, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut at $49 there. And then, of course, there are several third-party games, even Deathloop at $36. It Takes Two at $20. Kena Bridge of Spirits down to $28. Back 4 Blood at $36. Tales of Arise, which I've really enjoyed this game at $40. I'm like 55 hours in doing some of the post-game stuff now, but certainly I think worth the pickup there. You have Sekiro Shadows Die Twice at $30. Diablo 2 Resurrected at $30. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 at $20. And then Death's Door at $15. Certainly worth the pickup there on Death's Door. I enjoyed that one quite a bit as well, but certainly take a look at the sales pages here and see if there's anything you find and leave some suggestions down below in the comments. Oh, and unsurprisingly, it sounds like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League from Rocksteady is getting delayed into next year. We can see this tweet posted up by Jason Schreier saying Warner Media has quietly delayed Rocksteady's Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League until 2023, according to people familiar with the development. And while we heard about Hogwarts, that game apparently coming out this year, the Harry Potter game, and then we heard about how Gotham Knights will be coming out this year, I started to think about where Suicide Squad was going to fit in, because it sounds like Gotham Knights would be up first, maybe in like the spring to like early summer, and then the Harry Potter game would come out towards the end of this year, maybe September, October. And then where does Suicide Squad fit in? It does appear like that would be a game coming out maybe in first quarter of 2023. I mean, really, we haven't seen any gameplay for this thing. We've just seen like different cinematics and different set pieces to kind of at least set up the story for us. So here's hoping all the time that Rocksteady is getting with this game pays off, because it's been a while. They haven't released a game since 2015. So here's hoping this one comes out and was worth all of the development time. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Sony and their latest financial results showing quarter 3 of their fiscal year, which covers October, November, and December of 2021, basically the holiday season. And we know the PlayStation 5 has been very hard to find and demand has been through the roof for this system. But let's start here with some of the revenue, and we can see this from Daniel Ahmed, who does an awesome job with charts to help visualize a lot of this stuff. So we'll take a look at some of his tweets here, saying in calendar year 2021, this segment generated $24.87 billion in revenue. That's up 8.9% year over year. That's very impressive, by the way, nearly $25 billion. Operating income was $2.63 billion. That's down 21.3% year over year. That makes sense though, because that was the first full year of the PlayStation 5, which typically you'll launch a system and for a little while there, you're eating the cost. And especially now we're seeing supply issues and just parts in general going up. And we've seen Sony already revise the PS5 to try to offset some of that. So the fact that it's only down 21.3% year over year for what's essentially their profit margin, that's pretty good, I would say. We can also see a nice breakdown here in a form of a pie chart showing off the different sources of revenue, with hardware at 24%, digital games, add-ons, and subscriptions, 66%. I think that's very important since we now know that Sony is going to make a big push into the live service game kind of sector. And you see that kind of a number there where digital games, add-ons, and subscriptions taking up such a large piece of the pie. It makes a ton of sense. We also got a number for their PlayStation Plus subscribers that's mostly flat still. 48 million PlayStation Plus subscribers though, and then 111 million monthly active users across its online network. And you guys know I like to point out kind of the shift that we're seeing to an all digital future that I think is coming up a bit sooner than people are realizing. And when you see a statistic like this, 67.5% of all PlayStation games sold in 2021 were digital downloads, and that is up from the 62.9% in 2020. This, by the way, makes sense. I mean, one of the PS5s is all digital. So yeah, that is going to continue to go up. And I mean, what happens when we get to like 80 or 90%? Is there much of a point to going through all of the logistics to package and send games out to retail stores? Well, that'll be up to Sony, I guess. But overall, a record year for Sony, obviously leveraging a lot of third-party games that they take royalties from for the digital side of things, and yeah, physical, but it's pretty clear microtransactions right now, I'm sure from a lot of free-to-play games, are playing into why Sony is able to have a record year despite launching a brand new system that is very costly to do. But speaking of that brand new system, how exactly is it selling? Because we know that the supply issues are bringing up a lot of concerns, especially as Sony has talked about this. And I was wondering how it would do trying to keep up with the PlayStation 4. Well, we can see this tweet from Daniel Ahmed with a nice chart there once again to kind of visualize where this supply issue has really hit them. PlayStation 5 has sold in 17.3 million units as of December 31st, 2021. This was shared during Sony's financial briefing. This compares to 20.2 million for PlayStation 4 in the same time frame when launch aligned. So yeah, you're seeing that right. That's about 3 million units behind the PlayStation 4 when you line up their launches. Obviously, this is from significant supply shortage that we're seeing, especially with different chips. And we've heard about this from all the different companies that need different semiconductors and everything. Intel talks about it, NVIDIA, AMD. But if you look at the chart here, the PS5 was actually keeping up with the PS4 pretty well up until, well, quarter four, this most recent quarter. And I mean, you can see 3.9 million were shipped versus the PlayStation 4 shipping 6.4 million in that quarter of 2014. And to me, that makes a ton of sense because right about now is when we'll probably start to see the supply issues reflected in a lot of these financial reports, especially from Sony and Nintendo, because they're the ones that give us hard numbers. Even if they're not great, they'll tell us, whereas Microsoft is certainly a bit more vague about how things are going behind the scenes when it comes to console sales. So Sony says that they'll be making this up as the generation goes along. Essentially, when the chip shortage starts to get resolved, which Intel, AMD are saying sometime late 2022, so this year, into early 2023, they'll be working to ship more and more PlayStation 5s as we go along. So I think this generation is going to be extended at least an extra 2 years. I think this is going to be a longer generation in general. And looking at Sony's roadmap, which they have now said during an investor's call that they are looking to do at least 10 live service games by 2026. Those are ongoing games where they will be collecting just recurring revenue through microtransactions, which are a big part of their business now. And this supply shortage has kind of forced them to look even outside of just the PlayStation console. It's already kind of forced them into doing cross-gen development from their first parties, not necessarily creating the PS4 as they go along. It's more or less having cross-gen versions of first-party titles like Horizon, God of War, Gran Turismo. Usually, the first party would break away from the old system. They would leave that there for third parties and continue to create that system like a PS3 or a PS2. But now they're in a strange spot. These live service games, I think, would be a way to kind of, I don't say bail them out, but offset a lot of the things they're going through now. And that's one of the reasons, as I went over in my second channel a bit more in depth, that we will see a day one release on the PlayStation and on PC at the same time, probably for one of these live service games sooner than you think. So keep an eye on that one. But as of now, Sony, yes, falling behind the PlayStation 4, but I still think they're going to catch the PS4 before the end of this generation with the PS5 because it'll just last longer, most likely. The PS4 sitting right around 116.8 million units sold, looking to do another million or so. I don't think they're going to get to 120 million with the PlayStation 4, but still did better than the PS3 and the PS1. Not going to catch the PS2, but hey, that's fine. Nothing really will, most likely, unless the Switch catches fire as we head through these next couple of years. But as of now, Sony at least having a record year for 2021, and we'll see what 2022 holds for them. I'm thinking these supply issues are going to keep up, and it's going to be kind of rough for Sony at least over the next 12 months or so. Next up, let's talk about Yacht Club games. You probably know them from things like Shovel Knight. Well, they had their own presentation the other day, and they showed off a brand new game that I think actually looks pretty cool. We can take a look over here on their trailer that they have for Mina, the Hollower. Now, according to them on their website, it is a bone-chilling action-adventure featuring classic gameplay with an 8-bit aesthetic in the style of the Game Boy Color, but refined for the modern era. And yeah, I really like the way this looks. Sure, it's playing off the nostalgia for me. It's kind of that isometric top-down look that people will associate with things like The Legend of Zelda, I mean, whether there's Link's Awakening or the Oracle of Ages or Seasons. I just think it looks really, really cool to see a game like this now in 2022. It does appear that it's going to be a little longer until we see this sometime into 2023, and it is going through a Kickstarter. This has caused some controversy, some conversation here, but I mean, we can see over on the Kickstarter page, it's currently sitting at $477,000 or so that's been pledged of the $311,000 goal. So no issues there, at least reaching the goal that they had set up. And I know we've talked about different Kickstarters with unknown companies and even, larger companies like from Platinum Games with Wonderful 101. Yacht Club's game they're still a small studio. Like they're not big. I think they have less than 20 employees currently. So I get why they might look at that and say, hey, look, this is a bit of a chance. I don't really know how many people are like, oh, 8-bit aesthetics for a Game Boy Color looking game now on my PS5. Got to get that. I get it. There is risk involved, and they're thinking, you know what? We'll see how many people want it, and we'll just put it on Kickstarter and see how it goes. And it's going pretty well so far. So I really don't have a big issue with different companies trying out something like this through Kickstarter. It'd be weird if like EA did it, obviously, or like a Ubisoft or Take-Two or any of these larger companies. But if it's a smaller indie studio, I mean, why not? You can at least put it out there, and if no one wants to buy in, then they'll just kind of move along, and that'll be that. But at least for now, Mina the Hollower appears to be interesting enough to complete its Kickstarter goal in the span of like a day. So I am looking forward to this one, but it'll be a little while before it does come out. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about the rumored Nintendo Direct for the month of February. At least that's what's being passed around now. And you know what? I gotta admit, we're more than a month into the year, and it's just now that I'm really starting to hear people talking about a Nintendo Direct, and it kind of makes sense considering we have at least come accustomed to expecting one in February, especially if you look back on the last several years. But there are some changes that appear to be happening with Nintendo, maybe getting ready for some big announcement. We can see this. It was posted up over on Nintendo Life saying eagle-eyed Nintendo Switch fans have noticed how the Japanese company's website has been given a completely new design, this for Monolith Soft. With copyright updates included, it's also mentioned how all the news articles dating between 2017 and 2022 have been removed, and there are now only 4 posts on display. One in particular mentions how the company will apparently be integrating its accounts later this month on February 28th, and some other information on the website has led to speculation about a new game announcement. People are really digging into this website now and lining up with the idea that, yes, there's probably going to be a Nintendo Direct in February, although it'd be a massive swerve if Nintendo just kind of walked right by February and allowed people to kick around the idea for the next 30 or 40 days or something, and then boom, there it is in March. I mean, this is usually when we start to expect it so they can work to set up the rest of the year. We know Kirby is coming up next month, and that's exciting stuff, but there have been so many rumors around things like Fire Emblem, obviously a new Xenoblade Chronicles game. We heard at the end of last year that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was set to be announced, but then got kind of pushed out of the year. Again, this is all rumor and speculation around the idea of that happening, but it does seem like Monolith Soft is preparing for something, and yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if, I don't know, in a week or two, Nintendo says, hey, tune in for about 40 minutes of games slated for this year and beyond, as, I mean, we're getting towards the point where they're going to want to put a date and a title on the next Breath of the Wild game, because at this point it's just known as the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So exciting stuff though, at least, as yeah, we should be expecting a Nintendo Direct to be announced anytime now. Also, you're probably going to be seeing a lot of rumors and leaks getting thrown around if they haven't already started up, but I think at this point people are just sort of guessing at when a Direct could happen just based on Nintendo's history, so I wouldn't put a lot of stock and certainly take a large grain of salt, maybe an entire bucket of salt, if you see someone trying to call a shot for a Nintendo Direct any week. They could just be going week by week and saying, oh, it's this week, no, wait, next week. Just hang out a bit. I think one is coming soon. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're gonna take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, how do you feel about Sony releasing at least 10 live service games by 2026? 10% said I like it, I want more big first-party multiplayer games for PS5. 38% said not sure, depends on which intellectual properties they use. And then 52% said I don't like it, I prefer Sony's single-player games. I think live service in general, people have seen what Ubisoft and EA have done to this, and they're worried that Sony's going to drive this into the ground. But there are a lot of intellectual properties that Sony could bring back that I think would genuinely excite people, and it is going to come down to how far they stray into the live service category. Like, are they going to make a straight up MMO, or are they just going to more or less stick to a multiplayer game, maybe a shooter that they just update over time and again gain recurring revenue? Are these going to be free-to-play games? Are these going to be full-price games? A lot of questions set to be answered, but based on this schedule that Sony is setting up, about 2 per year, and you could look towards some of their IPs that have kind of been on the back burner. Resistance, Killzone, Twisted Metal, that's come up already with rumors. So we'll see exactly what they're looking to do with this aggressive roadmap, as Jim Ryan has said, when it comes to these games as a service. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Mateus saying, that is not great company. That's a missed opportunity. He should have said bad company. I think there was a take where I actually said bad company. I had a joke. It just didn't work out that well, but I am really happy now looking at Battlefield 2042 that they did not try Bad Company 3. They have to save that for when they know they can absolutely nail that Battlefield game. And you know what? I don't think it would have worked as just a multiplayer game, because there is a single player that should go along, I think, with the Bad Company series. So if they were going to take a shot at Bad Company 3, full single player that at least has a all right story to go along with it, some fun characters, and then an awesome multiplayer. Not a multiplayer with 2042 where they have to patch in the scoreboard months later. It's like, save Bad Company 3 when you're really ready to commit to it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike, leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today, where Sony's financial report, along with the chip shortage really affecting the PlayStation 5. Now looking at this, do you think the PS5 will be able to outsell the PS4 overall when it's all said and done? And then what about the Nintendo Directs? When do you think it's going to happen? Is it next week or the week after? Go ahead and leave a guess down below and we'll come back and see who is right. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.